Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and welcome to another episode of Jungle School Gombak Young Ambassadors Podcast. I am your host Fakira and today's journey takes us far beyond textbooks and tourist trails. Today's journeys take us into the heart of Malaysia, into the river, into the forest and into the highlands and into the history of the people who has called this land home since time immemorial. The orang asli of Peninsula Malaysia and the orang asal of Sabah and Sarawak. Who are they? They are not just a footnote or a national narrative. They are our country's foundation. But their voice has echoed faintly, muffled by development plans and also erased by the history. But today we turn up their volume. This is episode 3, the history of indigenous people of Malaysia with the title Echoes of the Ancestors, History Untold. Together, we will uncover the real truth behind the first peoples of Malaysia.
Welcome to the first segment of this episode, where we dive into the roots of history, culture, and identity of indigenous people. When people talk about Malaysia, it's usually the food, festivals, or the big three ethnic groups, Malay, Chinese, and Indian. But long before Malaysia became a country, there were already people here, the indigenous people. In Peninsular Malaysia, they are known as the Orang Asli, and in Sabah and Sarawak, they are called the Orang Asal. They are not just culturally diverse, they are deeply connected to nature. Forests, rivers, mountains, these aren't just resources. They are life, they are heritage, and they are home. What does indigenous mean in Malaysia? Globally, indigenous people refers to communities who have lived on their ancestral lands for generations, often before modern countries even existed. In Malaysia, indigenous communities are recognized as Orang Asli in Peninsular Malaysia and Orang Asal in Sabah and Sarawak. The Orang Asli are made of three main groups: Negrito, Senoi, and Proto-Malay. Mahamari, a Senoi group, they are known for their peaceful lifestyle and deep respect for nature. The Temuan, from the Proto-Malay group, often live near forests and blend tradition with modern life. The Batik, from the Negrito group, are among the lost nomadic foragers in Malaysia. Although their environment differ, deep jungles or village edges, their connection to the land and traditions remains strong, passed down through stories, rituals, and skills. In Sabah, you'll find groups like the Kadazan Dusun, Murut, and Rungus. One of their most iconic celebrations is Keamatan, the harvest festival, a time to give thanks, dance, and honor the rice spirit. In Sarawak, the Iban, Bidayu, Melanau, Orang Ulu, and Penan each contribute to the state's unique identity. Long houses are just buildings. They are symbols of community and shared living. From tattoos and blowpipes to bamboo music and Gawai festivals, Sarawak's indigenous cultures are vibrant, spiritual, and full of wisdom. Despite their rich heritage, indigenous communities face real struggles, especially around land development, logging, and displacement. Many lack secure land rights, and that affects their homes and way of life. Access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities is still unequal, especially in remote areas. And as modern influences grow, there is a risk of losing languages, traditions, and even identities. Still, many indigenous youths are rising, using education, activism, and digital platforms to fight for their rights and celebrate their culture. Through everything, Malaysia's indigenous people remain resilient. Their traditional knowledge of forests, rivers, healing, and sustainability holds lesson for all of us. They have been caring for the land long before climate action was a threat, and their stories, arts, and worldviews enrich Malaysia's national identity, reminding us what it means to live in harmony with nature and each other. So that's glimpse into the world of Malaysia's indigenous people, the original custodians of this land, rooted in tradition, rich in knowledge, and full of strength.
Hello, hi, assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome back to second segment of today's episode. I'm Awa and I'm Ain. So in this segment, let's discover into the challenges and the untold stories of orang asli. So don't forget to watch until the end, okay? Ain, can you hear that? That's the forest. Not just any forest, but the one that once cradled the entire communities, which is the Malaysia indigenous people, also known as orang asli. Yeah, I love forest. It's so beautiful. I can almost picture it. The towering trees, the hum of cicadas, the river that winding through. It's so calming, you know. But, you know, for the orang asli, the forest was not just a scenery to them. Yeah. It was their life. It was memory. Yeah, exactly. For generation, they didn't just live in the forest, but they lived with it. They were hunting, gathering, fishing, and they did farming too, you know. But the farming was not the way that we think. The one with the huge cleared land, with the tractors and so on. Their farming was more gentle and respectful. The plants was not a thing to be bought or fenced. It was sacred. It was shared through generation. Oh, I see. But other than that, take a look at the Semai people, for example. They had this beautiful practice called Berderma. Have you heard about it? I think I know what it is. Berderma is like a system of collective sharing, right? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, everyone contributed and everyone received. And no one ever went hungry. And did you know that for orang asli, that system was not just like a charity, but more like a culture. Oh, and all of those, like Berderma, the tables, and the farming, they were all tied back to their worldview. And their myth, their songs and story were not just for the children, but it carried their laws and wisdom. Yeah, I agree with you, Wawa. But then British came, and everything has changed. Colonialism changed the game. The forest was not a sacred space anymore. It was made, claimed, and monetized. Yeah, and did you know, during the Malayan emergency in the 1950s, that's when things really turned down, when they had the BRICS plan. Oh, yeah, the BRICS plan. Imagine that the whole communities were uprooted overnight and they were moved into gathered settlements and fenced-in camps. Their freedom was gone and their forest was burned. Oh my god. The truth is that not many orang asli were even involved in the conflict, you know. They were just caught in the middle, being scared and displaced. And it's not even fair for them to be treated like that. Oh, and in those resettlement camps, no river to fish, no trees for medicines. I think that was just insane for me. Yeah, and I also heard that they need to apply for their citizenship. That sounds so ridiculous. How can they apply for citizenship when they are the one who actually own the land? Yeah, I know that many Malaysian people that orang asli also had to apply for citizenship. And you know that some of them were raising questions like why in the land they have cared for the longest, and why they are still treated like strangers. Oh, okay, that's a question that we need to ask to Ain. That when we talk about Malaysia's development, let's not forget the roots. Yeah, because before the highways and before the glass towers, there were the untouched forests. And in that forest, there was home. Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. So welcome back to this episode. So in this segment, we're going to talk about law, land and resistance. So together with us today, Dr. Nur Hafizah from Ahmad Ibrahim Kuliah of Laws. So madam, could you introduce yourself for a little bit to us?
Okay. Thank you, Shafia. I'm Dr. Nur Hafiza Muhammad Badr Effendi, law lecturer from Ahmad Ibrahim Kuliah of Laws. I've been in the academia for 32 years. My subject matter expert is on constitutional law, legal system, gender issues, and human rights.
Okay. So moving on to our very first question. So madam, I would like to ask you, what does the law say about the indigenous people in Malaysia?
Okay. All right. With regards to that question, first of all, let me clear the misconception, okay, of the term use. Okay. Usually people equate the term indigenous, okay, with orang asli. Actually, I would like to clear this misconception because when you're talking about the recognition of law as provided in the recognition of law with regards to orang asli, the term used in the federal constitution as the supreme law of the land in Malaysia, as enshrined in Article 8, Clause 5, where the word says aborigine. Aborigine here refers to orang asli. Alright, so back to your question. Okay, actually, looking at the concept of equality before the law under Article 8 Federal Constitution, where it says that all are equal before the law, okay, equal protection before the law, okay. However, there are certain restrictions, or I would say certain limitations on equality as provided in Article 8 Clause 5C, gives a certain, what do you call it, a privilege, okay, to the aborigines or orang asli. So as far as orang asli is concerned, I think the term used should be aborigine and not indigenous, because indigenous refers to those natives of Sabah Sarawak. You call them as indigenous. Okay, and also why I said what you call the term used is different, because the constitution itself used a different term. If you refer to Article 153 Federal Constitution, okay, it mentions about the special position of the Malays and natives of Sabah and Sarawak. So as far as orang asli is concerned, okay, it does not comes under 153, but what do you call it, their privilege, I would say, not to yeah, privilege what comes under the law, which is made for the advancement or for the advantage of the orang asli, as provided under Article 8 Clause 5C. And besides the federal constitution, we have a specific law which governs the orang asli, that is the Aboriginal Peoples Act. I think this Aboriginal Peoples Act was enacted in light with what is provided under Article 8 Clause 5C. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, madam,
Alright,
for
welcome.
very clear explanation. Okay. Alright, so let us go to the second question. So, madam, based on the infamous case of Sagun Tasi and Selangor, what do you think was the significance of this case?
Okay. All right. The significance of the case of Sagung Tasi was that the court did recognize the right of the orang asli. Okay. Now, although you have to remember that orang asli, they do not have the right over ownership of land as provided under the National Land Code. Okay. They don't have the right to ownership of land. However, their right is protected under the Aboriginal Peoples Act, whereby under the Aboriginal Peoples Act, a land could be gazetted by the state authority for the use of the orang asli. So although they do not have the right to ownership of land, but they have the right to use the land. To, for example, they have the right to cultivate the land, okay, and the right is not given to the what you call the non orang asli if the land is gazetted for the purpose of use of the orang asli. And for that purpose, I suppose the it was observed by the court, okay, the appellate court, that the government, that is the state government, followed by the federal government, would have a fiduciary duty, okay, to protect the rights of the orang asli, and if whereby even if the land is not gazetted, okay, there is still way to recognize their rights under common law. So I think this is one which what do you call, the court has taken this into account in deciding the case of Sagong Tasi. And in addition to this case, if I may, all right, okay, add another case, that is the case of Adong bin Kuau. This case is also very significant, okay, where it involves a group of orang asli in Johor, whereby what do you call it, a dam is to be built in Johor, which affected the land of the orang asli, whereby they have been occupying there for so long. Okay, and they brought an action, okay, to claim that they have the right, because the what they did, okay, what do you call, the state authority of Johor, state government of Johor, had infringed their right to use the land, okay, whereby they have been occupying the land for generations, okay, since time immemorial. Okay, so in deciding the case, all right, the court had referred to a common law principle in recognizing the rights of the natives, okay, in Australia as well as in New Zealand, because you know in Australia and New Zealand they have the natives there. So if I may quote the case of Mabu and others, okay, which is an Australian case, which was referred by the court in the case of Adong bin Kuau, where in that case, in the case of Mabu, okay, whereby it relates to the rights of the Miriam people over Murray Island. And then when there was a law a law of which was introduced in Queensland, which affected the rights of the Miriam people. Therefore, Mabu had brought an action to the court in Australia, okay, representing the rest of the natives, okay, to claim their right. So it was decided that the natives has the right under common law. So even if, let's say, the state government did not gazette the area, okay, as what do you call aboriginal land for aboriginal purposes, but that does not deny their right under the law, because the court will look at what is the principle under common law. Okay.
All right, thank you so much,
Alright,
Nadu, for the
welcome.
very clear explanation. So I think it's very inspiring for the Orang Asli community because of these cases, they may start taking action to the powerful act because they are always being oppressed to and like to regarding their land. Moving on to the very last question. So, Madam, I'm very curious. So, what is the current state of the land encroachment, deforestation, and also the protest movement led by the Aboriginal people?
Okay, thank you, Safia. All right. I suppose with regards to land encroachment affecting orang asli, it is not something new. Why? Because I think they are the minority group, and when you are talking about right to land, they do not have the right to ownership of land as provided under National Land Code. What they have is that their right under Aboriginal Peoples Act is to cultivate the land, to use the land, to what do you call it, to get the profit or benefit from the products of the land. Okay, so as such, sometimes, okay, the what do you call encroachment happens. Okay, and what more if the state is not I would say stringent, okay, in their enforcement. Okay, and as I've mentioned to you, in order for the land to be categorized as land used for orang asli, it needs to be gazetted. So let's say if the state did not gazette the land, so I mean it less what do you call strength on the rights of the orang asli, except that if the court were recognized under the common law. Okay, so we could see encroachment happened in states like in Perak, in Pahang, in Kelantan. Okay, not only by the state authority, but also by private companies, for example, for the purpose of development, for the purpose of building dams or buildings, or for the purpose of what do you call building some constructions and so on. So this should not happen. I suppose if the state authority is um, is serious, okay, in handling this situation, okay, or in making sure that the rights of the orang asli is protected. So I suppose in this regards, enforcement is very important, especially on the part of the state authority, to ensure that there should be no encroachment in land which is what do you call gazetted, okay, or which is meant for orang asli.
So, Madam, I would like also to let you know that actually there also an ongoing issue based on our excursion on the extraordination to there's also a problem like ECRL construction that is affecting the Temuan tribe. And also there also issue of dam construction in Tanjung Sepat that is affecting the economic of Mahmari tribe.
I
So
see.
we are discovering the issue of that
I
and
see.
we are
That's
helping
good.
them.
Yeah, that's good. And in addition to what you mentioned just now, I think that one also need to refer to Article 13 of the Federal Constitution with regards to right to property. I suppose in the event, okay, if their rights to use the land has been what do you call has been affected, okay, so they should be compensated because that is the right under Article 13 of the Federal Constitution, which one might not take it seriously, and on the part of orang asli, maybe they do not know about that particular right. Okay, so actually, if their right has been infringed, okay, with regards to the occupation of land which has been used for generations, okay, so the orang asli, they only depend on the products of the land, right? So when it is affected, therefore compensation should be given to the orang asli, because this is the right as provided under Article 13 of the Federal Constitution with regards to right to property. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Thank you so much, Medium, for very amazing, insightful, and knowledges about perspective of law to us. So I think that's all for this segment. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay, thank
Safia,
you,
for
Medium.
inviting me.
Alright.
All right.
Thank you, Medium. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you for staying with us until now. We have come to the next segment of today's episode. So we have learned about the facts and also history about indigenous people in Malaysia, but I believe it will not be completed without hearing it directly from someone whose life embodies the very spirit of orang asli itself. So in this segment, it is called Voices from the Ground, where we will be interviewing an orang asli itself, questions about orang asli. So I am this segment's host. My name is Fakira, and it is truly an honor to have Major Kalam here with me, which is a former military officer, which is also a leader of orang asli from Semelai tribe, and also the co-founder of Jungle School Gombak Malaysia. Welcome, Major Kalam, for today's episode. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience before we start with the first question?
Okay, I'm Major Kalam bin PE, RMF, from Semelai tribe. Why they always call me Major? Because I was in the Royal Malaysian Air Force for 21 years, serving the country in my capacity as an officer. Then as a Semelai tribesman, I was born in Gemas, Negeri Sembilan in 1968, now 57 years ago. So my life is more than half a century already. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you, Major Kalam. That is a very interesting introduction from Major Kalam himself. So, shall we start with the first question, Major Kalam?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone is very curious about this question also. My first question is, what does being an indigenous people means to you, Major Kalam?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As indigenous people means we are just as equal as everybody else, because 5 generations ago, my great grandfather probably revert to Islam. So then we start to become the part of the country's Malay community, because we are from the Proto-Malay group. So the Proto-Malay group consists of Jakun, Semalai, Temuan, orang Kanak, orang Seletar, and orang Kuala, and a few more actually, which already now assimilate into the other culture of orang asli. But basically there are 6 Proto-Malay people in this group. Okay, as a Muslim, we have to understand that in the Al-Quran, Allah was stating that we are all equal. So even now SDG adopt that as equalities, we have to be equal. So there's nothing to be so proud, or nothing to make you become arrogant about your tribe. So you have to be in par or respecting each other's tribe, because of that's what the Al-Quran was saying. So in every religion is also before Nabi Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was also talking about the same thing. So to me, being indigenous is just as equal as the rest of the world. So that's what I'm promoting now. So because we make sure that they understand that they are not lower or they are not higher, we are equal.
Yes, that's a very complete answer for Major Kalam, complete with SDG and also Quranic verse. So to conclude Major Kalam's answer, it doesn't mean that being an indigenous people means that you are not a normal person. It means that we are all the same. And me being an orang asal from Sabah Sarawak, it also means that I am also a normal person, such as Major Kalam is a normal person. Okay, so for the next question.
Sorry, ada issue. Okay, how will it?
Okay, so for the next question, I want to bring Major Kalam to another perspective. So right, in terms of education, when we talk about education, the first things that come to our mind is classrooms, examinations, and also uniform schools, right? But I believe that from Major Kalam's perspective, education means something that is entirely different. So from Major Kalam's perspective, what does learning looks like to you growing up?
Okay, education is about understanding, the creation. So yeah, we have to understand whatever Allah creates in front of us, the forest, the mountain, the sky, because everything is in the Quran stating that, that's the science of Him, the Creator. So that's education is all about. We have to understand all these things. And as an orang asli, because we live there in the jungle, so they are in our rainforest. We have millions of flora and fauna, which our orang asli will pass down that knowledge to each and every one of their descendants, of the children. So and that kind of education is not documented. It just passed down from it's verbally passed down from the grandparents to the grandson, grandchildren. So this is education that is lacking nowadays, because we are so into class education. We have to be in the university, in the classroom, in the internet, online, which is like a 2-dimensional learning. But our education is 3-dimensional. We have to smell, we have to hear, we have to feel, the touch. This is far more important compared to the classroom learning. And that's why at Jungle School now we have international school coming in, students from overseas, because they want to know what pokok kulim is all about. So we said, okay, pokok kulim is a kind of medicinal purpose, and we also can have in the cooking. And so how does it smell? So we have to pick up the plants and see, oh, this smell like that. Okay. So and durian, what is durian smells like? And the Westerners doesn't like it, but some Westerners like it. So the ASEAN, whether they like durian or not. So classroom learning actually half of the less education, but to complete everything we need jungle education or nature education, so that everybody can learn, can respect whatever Allah has created, so that with that we can have more understanding, and we can take care for the next future, for your future, your grandchildren's future.
Yes, that is absolutely true. So actually the process of education is the same for everyone. It is the process of learning. It is only a matter of how the knowledge being transferred to each other. It is either maybe 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional, just like how Major Kalam said to us just now. Okay, so Major Kalam, next question is, every culture, every races, and also every tribes, I believe there is a myth, which is in Malay we call it mitos, or maybe misconception or belief that people have for certain tribes or certain culture. So for Major Kalam, for indigenous people in Malaysia, what does a myth that the people of Malaysia have towards indigenous people, and what is actually the truth behind the myth?
Okay, can I just reciprocate your understanding about myth?
Yes.
Okay. What we understand about mythos is like there's a word in our culture, in indigenous culture, we call it celau. Okay, this is an example of the myth. Okay, which means if you do something bad to nature, to animals, to plants, that is in the Al-Quran is called zalim.
Zalim.
Yeah, meaning we don't want to eat the animal, we just kill it just for the sake of killing it for nothing, and then we just throw it away.
Yes, of course.
So which is in the Al-Quran is zalim.
Yes.
You are not because Allah said you have to, if you want to eat, you have to consume plants, animal for your consumption. But for killing it deliberately is wrong actually.
Yes.
So that's in the indigenous orang asli understanding is that we call it celau. Celau means you are zalim to the animals or to the plants, and in return the creator, because orang asli understand there is one creator. The enemies believe there is one creator, and the rest are all spirits or semangat which will affect your life in the jungle. Okay, so the creator will send either one of the semangat or whatever to destroy you or to give bad repercussion to what you did to the animals or the plants. So that is from the perspective of modern people, that's a mythos. It's not. It is in the Quran is zalim and adil. This is two. You are adil, Allah will reward you adil. If you are zalim, Allah will give back zalim. Okay, whether here or hereafter, which we don't want that in the hereafter. If we get the punishment here, is alhamdulillah, which is we can purify our sins because we already have the punishment. But there we cannot get any more because it's all permanent. So this is the mythos that I try to explain. But the consumption, for example, when we eat in the SDG, they're talking about responsible consumption. So which in the Al-Quran is membazir, is a sahabat syaitan. It's so clear there. So if you are wastage, you are actually part of the satanic ritual. Everything is about wastage. See? So but the orang asli, they only eat what they eat for that day. Like 200 grams of rice, one chicken for the whole family, or one deer for the whole community, and that's it. They don't kill 10 deer just for the sake of killing. No, they don't do that. It's happened here in Africa, in South America. They are sharing. The community is very, very sustainable community. So that's For modern people, that's mythos, because in the capitalism, we need to produce more to get high income, because we are collecting everything in monetary form. It's not involved in the healthy or happiness. Okay, that's what my answer is.
Yes, that is very true actually. I have also heard about the chilau, and I am very surprised to hear that it is not a mythos apparently. So thank you Major Kalam for explaining it to us today. Okay, so it brings us to our next question, which is, on the other hand, we have mythos, right? But we also have values from the indigenous people. So if Major Kalam were to teach the Malaysian people the value that the indigenous people have, what would it be?
Okay, I think the best word I can come up with is resilience. Okay, resilience and respect. Okay, I'm not going to 3R, but I'm going to 2R. Okay, resilience, because if you want to sustain your culture, your generations, your youngsters' ability to adapt from ice age until now, must be resilience. If you're not resilient, you will adapt a different culture into your culture, and you start to become somebody else. So that's not good, because then you lost your name, your language, whatever it is, and you become somebody else. So that's one thing. And respect, because indigenous people respect each other. That's why in Peninsula Malaysia, actually there is no history of big war among the tribes, because we don't kill each other.
Yes, true,
because we are living in the jungle, we just respecting their jungle, or Temia and the Semai. Okay, this is your border. Okay, I'm hunting until here only. That part is Temia's territory. Temuan in Negeri Sembilan, Semelai. Okay, we catch fish here. Sometimes I be in the river. We met the Jakun tribe. I said, because they are not Muslims, so we cannot give salam to them, but we just say khabar. And then because we are catching fish in the same river, so we should fight, because if you have a good trap, you get better fish. They probably have less trap, less fish. It's up to those catching fish. So respecting and resilience, I think we can go all the way until the 1,000 years from now.
Yes, that is very true, everyone. So you have to remember 2R, respect and also resilience. It can come all the way for your descendants throughout our time. Okay, so fortunately and unfortunately, we have come to our last question for today. Okay, so you are smiling, Major Kalam, for the last question. So the last question I want to ask is, for the audience that is hearing and also watching us for today, what is the key takeaway, or if they somehow want to contribute and want that to be better for the community, what can they start doing today in order to help and contribute to the indigenous community in Malaysia?
Okay, I think the first step is they need to relearn, to know the indigenous people, because from my reading now in Peninsular Malaysia, we have at least 18. Those are the former, the one that written in the Department of Indigenous book, but there are many more tribes actually in between the tribes. So altogether in 1970s, we still have 50 tribes in Peninsular Malaysia alone. Not to mention Sabah and Sarawak. Sabah and Sarawak at the moment they have around 80 tribes. But if you go deeper and ask the Sarawakian or Sabahan, there are more tribes in between them, which now kind of missing or assimilating with the other tribe, which I think around 200 tribes altogether or more. Yes. Because their language will be different from tribe to tribe. That's how we know which tribe they are from. Yes. So in order to be able to understand all these tribes, you have to relearn. You study, because now everything is in your fingertips. Yes. You just Google it if you want to. That's it. That's the first step. Once you had to know, then you will find yourself from where, from which tribe. If you have said if you're from Sabah, okay, you have to understand which tribe I'm from. If you are from Malacca, you can try. Maybe the Malacca people will belong to Temuan. Yes. or because that's the closest tribe there. Unfortunately, people from Penang, they are quite distant from any tribe because there's no trace of indigenous in Penang. Until now, I try to look because there is none, because they have been sent back to the mainland after Penang was open to modernization. So probably Penangites are actually now living from tribal from the mainland. So that's the first step: study and understand which close tribe you are from. Now you are from Proto Malay, or you are from Senoi or Negrito. You never know.
Yes.
If you want to do more, you go to the Pusat DNA Negara in Kajang, because they can actually extract your blood and they can see your mitochondrial, where from your mother's is from where. Okay, from even some from South Africa, you don't know. Some from Papua New Guinea or Java or Kelantanese. They have the bank, so you know, if when you give your blood, they will analyze, so you know which you're from. So that's it. I think, in my opinion, you have to relearn, and study, so that you can go as close as possible to your origin.
Yes.
Then you will respect the other tribe.
Yes, that is true. So for everyone who is interested, maybe you can go do some research, go do some studies about the orang asli. There is a lot of things to discover, or maybe you can go to the hospital and check your DNA. Maybe someday you discover that you belong to some tribe. So who knows, right? So Majid Kalam, I think we have come to the end of our segment for today. And first and foremost, I wanted to thank Majid Kalam here today for spending his time and for sharing his wisdom, his knowledge, and also all of his sharings that is very beneficial for us. So to those who is listening to our podcast episode for today, I hope that you can gain something from this segment specifically. As the Malay saying goes, buang yang keruh, ambil yang jernih. So thank you Majid Kalam, and akhirul kalam, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum and hello. Welcome to a new segment of the podcast, which is Untold 4, where we uncover the truth of the common stereotypes of orang asli that we often heard. My name is Erdina Batrisha, and joining me today is Sister Kai. She lives in Negeri Sembilan, and she is familiar with indigenous people in Negeri Sembilan, and she kindly agreed to share her perspective and help us to explore more about orang asli. So welcome, Sister Kai.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I mean, my name is Kai, you can call me Kai, and I'm from Negeri Sembilan. And I'm here not as an expert, but I'm so happy to be here. So because I also have the privilege of growing up along with orang asli communities, especially the Temuan tribe people in Negeri Sembilan. So growing up with orang asli communities, I mean I've already have the experience to listen and observe them about how they live in nature, like the connection between human, orang asli communities and nature itself, and then how they the way they conduct their life. And I know that they have these deep cultural values that we can learn. So this is I've worked alongside them in some of cultural community-based activities, and this also helped me to get an insight and learn more about that. Orang asli also have their tradition and cultures, and it is not like what we heard, the myth that we heard from other people. We need to learn more about them. So I'm here to help you guys to maybe enlighten a little bit about the myth and fact.
Okay, so even though there are so many outsiders still have misconception of this episode, we revise through the myth and spotlight the facts and share the voices and stories about them, which is rich, involving, and they play important roles in their culture. So let's go. Okay, so let's start with the common myth that we often heard about orang asli. The first one is orang asli are nomadic and don't I don't want to live in modern life. Second is they are a small group and don't contribute to society. And the third one is they have no written history. Before we get into the third part, which is we explore the group, I want to highlight that we get the chance, the opportunity to interview Cik Asul, one of the community of Mahmeri.
Mahmeri tribe.
Back when we had exhibition at Pantai Cunang, Tanjung Sepai. So I had the opportunity to ask him some myth that we will talk about today, for him to clarify and help us more. So let's get to the first myth, which is orang asli are nomadic and don't want to live a modern life. So can you share the fact and or the truth about the first myth?
The myth was nomadic and don't want to live the modern life. Okay, so my take is, from what I've seen, most orang asli people, they today live in permanent life. I mean, like permanent house, and I mean, like they establish a village for themselves. They like to, live in a village together, and it's easier for them to communicate with each other. So it's not nomadic. It actually just, they want to establish with their own hometown people, we call it, like with hometown people together living in one place. Still got smartphone. I mean, like they have smartphone. They send their kids to school daily, of course. And then some of them, like adults, matured one, we still got jobs just like we do. I mean,
They also go to regular jobs.
yeah, they also, yes, of course, they do regular job. Just maybe not the top tier, like they can get around 1,000, just simple jobs,
Like teachers
yeah,
and all.
teachings, or maybe plucking things, and then like apa we call it, transferring their goods, like trees or any apa we call that,
Like selling,
yeah, selling stuff, and they make handmade stuff,
like craft.
yeah, crafts. So this is not because they are close-minded or like they stuck in the past. They just
They are trying to adapt it.
yeah, they try to adapt to development of this city, but not just like people, not just like us, that we can just jump into the city. They take time to adjust. While adjusting, they not only try to try to go toward development, but they also need to carry the culture itself, everything, that the tradition, the culture, everything must be with them. I mean, like not till die they will still intact with their tradition and culture, and that is so beautiful. And for me, yeah, they not nomadic or like close-minded person. They just the same like us, and they also have high cultural values.
So let's jump into the second myth, which is orang asli they are a small group and don't contribute to the society.
Don't contribute to society.
Yes. So what's your take on this one?
That's quite wrong. I mean, like they not like parasites living in our country. I mean, orang asli communities, they also giving back to to the people, because they are not just living in their own spaces and not communicate with people. They sit there, I mean, like they settle down somewhere, and they also protect the nature around that. I mean, like they protect the plants, they protect they actively want to make their life good and the nature around them. Also, I mean, like they don't exploit the nature just like other people do in a rapid movement. I mean, they protect them. I would say that they protect them. And what we call that? Orang asli also got this deep connection. You can see if you go there, they are like if you go to any orang asli communities or village, they are what we call that? They are, the bond between them and the nature, the plants, the animals are quite different from how we communicate with other creatures. So I've seen like they also got what we call that. What we call this? Not brain. They also got wisdom. Yes, they also got wisdoms that we or other scientists also come just to learn from them, because we call that they are experienced people, of course. So scientists also come down and learn from them. So this is something that I would say they're not parasite, or like they're not giving back. They're the protector of the nature. They also got a lot of wisdom that they can share with us. So oh yeah, another one. They also because they live in like not at the city area. They do help Malaysia in safeguarding the natural heritage, such as like plants, of course, natural heritage values that we have, and this helps us. So they're not. I mean, like these myths are quite wrong.
Yeah, I can agree with Sister Kai as well. Back when we were had exhibition at Bandar Jenang, Cik Asam is really passionate about talking about the mangrove trees that they safeguard. It is very disappointed when their mangrove has been disrupted with certain things I see, but that's how they are really protective about their nature. So let's go through the last myth, which is myth 3. They have no written history. Can you shed a light on this one?
Oh, they have no written history. Okay. Okay. Most of people with I will say about this, like most people that have not people, most community with high cultural values or traditions, they tend to not have. They like to give oral tradition. I mean, like by oral communication, they pass down through their own bloodline to keep the tradition and culture safe. But this is their history not only pass through. I mean, like if us normal people, they're also normal. I mean, like us, we will hear about them just by storytelling, songs, or some certain ceremonies or rituals. Then we know, oh, this is orang asli's traditions. Not just like that. Their wisdom, their tales, their crafts and so on. There are these things that when we see, we can know, or like we know that this is them, that this is their brand, their orang asli community's branding. We know that, oh, is this if this craft were handmade, and we know that this is all of their products. So what's beautiful about this, many of them more like now working hard and try to pass down the tradition by their bloodline, and also this is how we can help them to enlighten people and to spread more about their traditions. And we need to help them by not being bad people. We need to enhance and to get people to know that they are not bad people now, or any other myth that we heard just now. So we as we call it middle people, or middle people. I know, we need to make many more activities.
Like as a community, we have to help them.
Yeah, we need to help them to
with their living history, because they have no written books.
We need to help them.
I see. So I also agree with this one, with what Sister Kai shared, because when we interviewed Cik Asun, he also said that as an elderly in his community tribe, he cannot wait to share his memory, his stories about their culture, tradition, and so on to his kids and the young ones, because it it is a living history which they don't write in any books or have in books that in library or something. It's all about memory and community. We have come to the last part, which is closing and the key takeaway remarks. So here's our three bottom line that we get from this podcast. The first one is the orang asli are not reliant on the past itself. They are part of our future as well. The second one is their knowledge system, cultural resilience, and sustainable practices offer crucial insights over time of like climate crisis and also social disconnection. And lastly, the myths of orang asli does not stop us to keep us blind, but the facts and by listening help us to see orang asli.
So it's like, let's not just talk about them. We need to speak with them. You need to learn by hand about them. So, and don't forget to follow platform or like support platforms and policies that serve and support their rights, their knowledge, and also their history. So we can work together to help this community for the future.
I see. So thank you, Sister Kai, for joining us today and to help us to share and share her point of view. And also thank you to all for tuning in. So until the next time, keep questioning about what you think, but also don't forget to keep listening about
Do some research first.
Hello, we've come to the last segment with me, Wana. As we have explored the rich and the diverse of life of indigenous people, and while we have come to an end of our story, the story of indigenous people doesn't end here. It's still being written, especially by the youth. All across the Malaysia, there is an emerging generation of indigenous youth claiming identity, asserting land rights, and proudly sharing their culture with pride. Take for instance, a young Semai activist in the Pahang forest who's organizing tree planting campaigns and demonstrating against ideology, or a Kadazan Dusun student in Sabah teaching traditional dance and Dusun vocabulary on TikTok to thousands of followers. And they didn't do it by themselves. Change makers such as Yasmin Yazid of Roots and Shoots Malaysia are breaking a path forward through environmental education, storytelling, and leadership programs like the 2021 RNS Award. She's empowering indigenous youth to speak out for their heritage for the planet. These young people are not just embracing a legacy, they are reshaping it. From the forests of Pahang to the coast of Sabah, indigenous youth are standing tall, proud of who they are and ready to reclaim their narrative. We are also seeing a shift slowly but surely. More schools are starting to take beyond the textbook. Indigenous history, languages, and perspectives are beginning to take root in classrooms. Media is playing its part too. Documentaries, art, exhibition, and even online videos are giving voice to narratives that were earlier kept in the dark. There's still so much more to do, but more and more Malaysians are listening and just learning. None of this change occurs in just gleam of an eye. Organizations like JOAS, Jaringan Orang Asal Malaysia, and the PAKOS Trust in Sabah have been leading the way in organizing communities and educating them. Meanwhile, global indigenous rights movements are bridging words, forming bridges of solidarity, connecting struggles, celebrating resilience across continents. Local and global movements are forming bridges, building platforms for voices long silenced. And what about you, the listener? Here's how you can hop on to this journey. First, you can use your voice to speak up for Indigenous rights, especially in social discussion and through internet. Next, you can also support genuine grassroots organizations that engage directly with Indigenous communities. And if you must visit, take intentional, community-led traveling that honors on-the-ground local culture and give back to the community. Solidarity also starts with listening, but doesn't end here. Speaking up, being present, and standing in solidarity from a distance with us, you are part of the change. For the last word, Briar is full of pain, but the future holds promises, and we are all share the responsibility of reshaping it. Thank you for walking this path with us today. The history of Indigenous people is not just for them, but it is also a vital chapter of our shared national identity. Every story forgotten and also every forest that was cleared is a loss to all of us. So, every time we choose to listen, to learn, and also to honor the Indigenous people, we have helped them to write a better future. One that includes all of Malaysia, not just a parts of it. If today's episode moved you, challenged your perspective, or taught you something new, please consider sharing it with someone else because these stories deserve to further far away. So with that, until next time, this is Fakira, the host for today's episode, reminding you that listening is the first act of solidarity. Thank you.